The following program is a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and are not the opinions of K-News, Alpha Media, management, or employees.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elder Answers. This is the show where we get together every week and we discuss the major issues facing seniors in the United States today. Hi, everybody. This is Michael McGuire, elder law attorney with the California Elder Law Center, where each week we try to present information that can be of use to a family, maybe with a senior or taking care of a senior or dealing with a spouse or just worried about your own future, about what's coming down the road and being prepared. The only way you can make good quality decisions in this world is you have to have information going into the decision-making process. Without information, you're really at a loss. You're just guessing, you're groping. And when it comes to the issues that elder law attorneys address, guessing is not a good idea. Being prepared is a good idea. Having lined up all your ducks is a good idea, because what we see here every day, maybe more now for some reason this year than ever before, is so many people are in crisis, and the crisis could have been so easily resolved. It could have been so easily taken care of, all but for the want of a nail, all but for the want of a durable power of attorney, all but for the want of a trust, all but for the want of a will, all but for the want of a deed, to have taken care of some of these legal formalities that all constitute and add up to an estate plan. Now, when you do an estate plan, you're basically in the mode of answering a question that's very, very important. It's very important. It's very relevant to everybody. And that's the question of what happens when I die. What happens? Where does my stuff go and how does it get there? And the does it get there part of an estate plan is maybe the most important and really sensitive issue as far as middle-class families in California are concerned with. And that's I don't want to subject my kids to the probate process. I want to avoid probate. Probate is very tedious. You're in a court of law. It takes a long, long time to get out from the end of the process. And that's been greatly complicated by the COVID crisis we've been dealing with. The courts are limited. They're overburdened. They're doing the best they can, but they're faced with the enormous task of protecting the court employees, all the people in the courtroom, from the judge on down to the bailiff, to the court reporter, to the court clerk, to the people behind the window, to all the people that line up behind society as far as accommodating a probate process. For those of you that are not sure what a probate process is, it's actually a pretty simple process when you think about it. Just step back for a moment. If an individual has passed away, let's say it's a husband and wife and they own a house as joint tenants. That means that when the first spouse passes away, the surviving spouse owns the house lock, stock, and barrel. When the second spouse passes away with a traditional joint tenancy, what ends up happening is we don't know who gets the house. And that's when we look to the will. Is there a will? That says who's going to get what. You go to court with a will. You have to absorb the expense of the court when you go to the probate process, to the probate court. You have to pay fees. You have to pay usually for somebody to represent you to handle it, because it's very confusing, tedious, and is very form and process intense. And so while this process is going on, they would look to the will. If there is no will, don't worry, the state of California is going to sort of have an intestate succession line of thought as far as how your estate's going to be handled, with you or without you, because you didn't put anything down on paper. And so at that point in time, you're maybe a year and a half down the road. You've spent not you, your estate has spent a lot of money to get to that point. And so most middle-class families want to protect their family from the probate process. They don't want anything to do with that. They want to stay out of that. The next issue that comes up over and over again when people are trying to do estate planning is there anybody in your family that needs to be protected? Is there somebody you want to make sure is safe? You know, not everybody grows up with the same sense of responsibility with handling money as everybody else. Not everybody is lucky enough to escape maybe a chronic or a permanent illness or disease or incapacitation that's going to last a lifetime. And that person is really dependent upon having access to their health care through the state of California, through the federal government. And if that's the case, those are the kind of benefits that if you get an inheritance, you could be ripped off the program and you would be in dire straits trying to figure out how to pay for your care. So can we protect somebody? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. And the third thing that everybody wants to be sure about is to make sure they don't pay any excess taxes. They don't pay any taxes they didn't really have to pay. There's been some huge changes as far as being able to send a piece of property from a parent to a child at death and to have it be protected from a reassessment by property taxes. And so you need somebody to guide you through that process and protect you and your family. Now, the elder law community is a little bit different. They're doing all that. They're keeping you out of probate. They're protecting your a child, perhaps, or a grandchild, maybe with a special needs trust, something like that. They're doing all that. You can, for instance, if God forbid one of your children who is a beneficiary has passed away before you and left children behind, you can protect those children. You can protect them and make sure that the money that you are giving them as a legacy now that your child has passed away is protected and is ready for them when they reach young adulthood. And to tell you the truth, they know the difference between a condo and a car. That's what you're really hoping for. So all these things come into play when you're doing that estate plan. But when you're talking to an elder law attorney, the elder law attorney is doing something totally different. They're answering a totally different question. The question is what happens if I live? What happens if I live? And that's what we have seen this year more than any time before in my career. You know, when the pandemic was initially launched as an official shutdown process back in March of 2020, I assumed, like most other independent business people, that we were going to be pretty much out of business for the rest of the year. I was dead wrong about that. As it turned out, we've had one of the busiest years in my entire 26-year career as an elder law attorney. And the reason for it is that this angst has settled upon our society. We have seen the loss of clients, 6 of them over the course of the year due to COVID. So we have seen families that were really suffering from anxiety is the right word for it. And what ended up happening, then something that they were able to put off, they avoided, they didn't want to address, they didn't get around to it tomorrow, I don't need to do it today. The idea, their documentation being up to date, current, and accomplishing what it is that they needed to accomplish, it wasn't ready. And so they started coming in, and we were very careful about how we run our office, I must tell you. We were early adopters of masks, we swabbed the room down, we had high-powered air filters in the room, and we had plastic acrylic screens between us and our clients to protect them and us, and we still do that. We still are very conscientious, and we have an office that is as safe as you can humanly make it, to tell you the truth, both for your sake and for our sake. And so we weathered that storm, but it became necessary for people to address these issues. And in addition to that, we've had a steady parade of clients coming in, or more accurately, the adult children of clients who are confronted with taking care of a parent, trying to put something together, trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out how to get some resources, only to discover that the paperwork was either inadequate or it was outdated or it didn't cover the issues that needed to be covered. And so now we're faced with over and over again a client or a potential client who's reached an age that they're really not in a position to be able to sign the documents. They're really not in a position to, given dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever's going on in their lives, they're really not able to help themselves, to protect themselves. It's very, very frustrating for the family to be going through that. And so the elder law community has been as busy as a bunch of one-armed paper hangers over this past year. And it's not just me, it's up and down the state of California and throughout the country, trying to catch up to people who have not taken care of business. That's really the bottom line. They simply did not take care of business. This is not a big deal. It's not outrageously expensive. It's just one of those things that if it's not your deal today, it's not your deal today. Well, what ended up happening in the year 2020, what ended up happening after Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's surges took place and terrified everybody, what ended up happening is everybody realized that this is my issue. This is my issue because tomorrow could be my day. And I need to be responsible. I need to protect my spouse. I need to protect my children. Because everybody says the same thing, but they're going to, without having done any planning or putting any thought into it, it's quite interesting. What does everybody say? I want to stay at home. Well, you better have a plan about that. And you better have a plan that says everybody knows who's supposed to do what. The other issue is of course, I don't want to go broke. Well, how's $10,000 a month, $350 a day to be in a nursing home sound to you? And I don't want to be a burden on my children. Who exactly is going to pick up the burden of the pieces of your life that have been shattered by Alzheimer's or dementia or a broken hip or becoming septic or one of the myriad of different issues that arises for seniors and frail seniors? So the reality is that had they only spent a little bit of time discovering how the system works, what's important to them, how this all relates to them, they would have done a much better job as far as meeting their goals, as far as being taken care of during a period of time in their life that they cannot take care of themselves.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
So this is Michael McGuire, and you're listening to Elder Answers. So what we're talking about here is that should you do any kind of process that educates yourself to the issues that you may be facing sometime during the course of your life. Now, there's an imperative that is going on demographically in the United States. It's unrelenting. It's like the tide coming in. There's not going to be any change to this. This is going to happen because it's happening even now, today, while you're listening to my voice. Right now, today, as you're listening to this radio show, 10,000 people are turning 65 years of age in the United States. 10,000 of them. That's 3.65 million people every year. That's going to go on for the next 10 years. 36 million people are going into seniorhood. Now, the godsend for these people, the blessing for these people is back in 1965, they signed into law back in Washington an insurance program, a health insurance program called Medicare. Up until then, seniors didn't have any kind of a health care program. They were on their own. Some of them worked for a union, some of them worked for a company that may have given them a benefit when they retired, but the rest of those people were out of luck. They were out of luck. They were too old to go out and get a new insurance policy, or if they could get it, it was so outrageously expensive they couldn't afford it. That's not the case in the United States anymore. Since 1965, people have been able to access Medicare health insurance, great health insurance, when the day they turn age 65 going forward. That means they live much longer. They live much longer. If you're a man, you live 5 years longer than a man in 1965. If you're a woman, you live 7 years longer than a woman in 1965. And so what ends up happening now is that you start to see things like when you turn 80 years of age, the life expectancy, if you're a man, is 88 years of age. If you're a woman, it's just over 90 years old. So when people say, well, I'm not going to live that long, or I don't even want to think about it, or it's not my issue, or I got something better today, even if I've got nothing to do today, I don't want to think about that. Well, they pay a terrible price for not thinking about it, not addressing it. Because not everything as far as the quality of your care is concerned, or even the care itself, is guaranteed. You have to be proactive about the quality of your care. You have to be proactive about where you are cared for. Let me guess. If you're like the vast majority of every other American, you want to be at home. You want to stay in your home. If you need care, I want my care in my home. I want the comfort of my home. I want the safety of my home. I want the protective cocoon around me of my home. And yet 70% of Americans, 7 out of 10, do not die in their home. They've been institutionalized somewhere along the line. Why? They didn't do any planning. They had their head buried in the sand, and they got the results that you would expect, which is nothing. They were swept along, they were put in the back of an ambulance, and they never came home. They may have died in the next 2 or 3 days, they may have died in the next 2 or 3 months, or they may have died in the next 2 or 3 years, but die they did indeed outside of their home, around strangers. Who knows what the quality of care is? We can guess. Most institutionalizations, as far as seniors is concerned, is nothing to write home about. You don't want that kind of care. You want to be in your home with your favorite food and your cat in your lap and your remote in your hand. You don't get to do that if you haven't put any head work into this process. I don't want to go broke, people say. I don't want to go broke. I don't want to end up living check to check. Well, if the average cost, and the average cost is in California to spend 1 month in a nursing home, it's $10,298. It'll probably edge up close to $11,000 when they make the new numbers published here in April. Now put that in perspective a little bit. You're looking at about $120,000 to $130,000 a year for care. Now, that's outrageous. That's terrifying. That's unbelievable. That's nowhere near what it costs you in other parts of the country. If you were back in Connecticut or Massachusetts or New York or New Jersey or Pennsylvania, you're looking at very easily anywhere from $14,000 to $15,000 a month. And they will drain you of every dime you've got, and then and only then will they look for alternative ways to pay for your care. And yet you could have used those alternative ways, government programs designed to protect an American citizen from a catastrophic illness. You could have used them from day one and protected and shielded every dollar of your life savings. You could have done that. You could have made sure that your spouse was safe, that there was enough money after taking care of you that your spouse was going to have a decent and qualified and protected retirement as well. But that only comes if you educate yourself and you do something about it. One last issue for all these 65-year-olds joining the cohort of retirees in America is they don't want to be a burden on their family. I don't want to be a burden on my wife. I don't want to turn her into a pauper. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a burden on my children. I don't want to deliver my problems to their doorstep. I don't want to be the one that they're all wringing their hands and getting on Zoom calls and trying to figure out, what are we going to do now? Can you chip in and help out with Dad? No, I really am. We're tight here. I've lost my job, or we've cut back here, or I've got 2 kids in college at the same time. I don't have an extra nickel to spare in this process. And so you start going through this process, and I would tell you the conversations are, well, in all honesty, that's your mother. Tell your brother to pay for it. I'm not going to sit here and destroy my retirement or not allow my children to be educated because your brother doesn't want to participate and be responsible. I'm not going to do that. I didn't ask you to do it for my father. I don't think you should be asking me to do it for your mother. These are real conversations. Wouldn't it have been better if the conversation was, let's sit down with somebody that does this for a living and knows how the rules work and how the system works, and we put together some kind of a plan, and then we let everybody on this team know what the plan is and how to participate and what's expected of everybody. And if we can find public funding, if we can convert some of our current assets into assets that can be used to be sure, first of all, we're going to get care, we're not going to be a burden, but even more importantly, we're going to get quality care. And even more important than that, we're going to get quality care at home if that's safe and sound and feasible. If we can do all those kinds of things, why would we not do that? And I don't know, except for you didn't know about it, or today wasn't the day. I think inertia kills more seniors than Alzheimer's disease. I think inertia is one of the most evil aspects of aging. You don't want to move out of your comfort zone. And yet, if you just took some time to educate yourself, you would see there are pathways to get great quality care if you prepare ahead of time. There's money available for veterans that have served during a period of war. There's money for everybody if they're going into a nursing home. And what are the tricks of the trade as far as getting quality of care? Well, it's to supplement the care you're going to get. Even if you're paying $10,298 a month in a nursing home, you better not expect that you're going to get treated like you're spending $10,000 a month. That's not going to happen. And so what you need to know is what your rights are. You need to know how these programs work. You need to know how to blend everything together to come up with a plan. The plan is not just about the money. The plan is not just about the idea of who's going to pay for what or how you make a buck stretch and how you make sure that you get what you want. The plan is going to be about who's going to take care of this issue. Who's going to take care of me when I can't take care of myself? I just had a conversation with somebody, a 94-year-old man had a heart valve procedure done here recently. Well, doing a heart surgery on a 94-year-old person even a few years ago was a death sentence, number one. And number two, who would do that? Well, today the technology has changed. The technology is you can go in and repair a valve, a heart valve, and it's far more inobtrusive. You're not cracking their chest open. You can go in a lot of different ways and do that. And as a result, people live longer. They live a lot longer. And if you live a lot longer, then you better be prepared for the fact that you're going to have a lot more money, or you're going to have a lot more information about how you're going to be able to protect yourself, where you're going to be able to protect. And the challenge is to get accurate information. The challenge is to have a clear picture of what the rules are about what do I have to do. Yeah, I worked hard. I got a few bucks I put aside. I got a roof over my head. I got some money stashed in a retirement account. So the question is do I have to give all that up? Do I have to cash it in? Do I have to be dead broke? Is this welfare? What's going on here? And the answer to all those things is no, no, and no. But you have to know the rules. And you have to be talking to somebody that knows the rules. And those are the kind of conversations we have at the California Elder Law Center. And if you'd like to have that kind of a conversation for you and your spouse or your family, and today with Zoom, we could have your family in there. If that's the kind of conversation you want to have, then you need to pick up the phone and call 760-422-0404. 422-0404. If you hear the message, you want to make a consultation, just go ahead and hit that particular extension, and you'll get somebody who'll get back to you and make a reservation if they're busy or if it's over the weekend. No, we'll get you in. We'll make sure you get the information. And what we're going to be doing is seeing what your situation is. We're going to personalize this conversation just for you and your family, your goals, what you want, how you want this to play out, so that you don't sit there and have anxiety about this issue. You have a sense of calm that you're going to get the kind of care that you need and deserve.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center. You're listening to Elder Answers. Every week, this show is delivered to your radio with a specific purpose in mind. There's only one rationale for this show. The only reason there is this show, Elder Answers, is to deliver accurate, up-to-date, comprehensive information to middle-class families that are being confronted with having to utilize long-term care and not being prepared because they didn't have the information, but now they do. Now they have a way to address these kinds of issues, to express what it is they're hoping for themselves and for their families. You know, over and over again, we're confronted with people coming in and the documents are so old. The documents have been done by a non-attorney. We had a situation here not so long ago. They went to a non-attorney. This happens to us, I don't know, maybe once a month. The non-attorney did a deed and they did it all wrong. They did it all wrong. I had one here not so long ago that they did the deeds, they signed the deeds, and somehow they didn't get recorded. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows where it's at. Now, there's a way to fix these kinds of situations. There is. But it's going to become expensive to take care of it because now you have to go into a court and fix things. Getting a conservatorship is A, not pleasant, B, brutally expensive, and incredibly time-consuming. And the courts run these calendars, and it's a very, very crowded calendar, and they're doing the best they can to plow through a long list of people that all want to be in front of that judge. And if they have to set this for another date down the road, you're talking about, if you're in April, they're talking August. You coming back, you'll come back in August. You'll come back in September. I need to get a probate started. Well, we can get to this maybe, I don't know, June, maybe July, to even get started, just to be able to start. The financial institutions are very, very difficult to deal with. Frankly, their employees are very poorly trained. And the problem with the financial institutions, I'm talking about like maybe retail banks, is the bank doesn't trust their own employees. That's really what it is. I happen to know that because I worked in banks for many, many years. I know how the system used to work when we were properly trained. And we did have the authority locally to do things because we knew what we were doing. We knew how to do it, and we knew what was in the best interest of the client, the customer, and the financial institution at the same time. They're not opposed to each other. And you didn't put money into a bank account just to be able to protect the bank from their own employees. But you better think about these kinds of issues and have this kind of a conversation. Those are the kind of conversations we have about who's going to get what. Yeah, sure, that's always part of the deal. But how about the conversation about who's going to be empowered to step in and take care of business when the day comes that you can't do that? Who's going to be the one that has the time and the ability to do that? Do you have family and relatives here? Are they here, or are they in Orange County, or are they in Seattle, Washington, or are they in Houston, Texas, or are they back in New Jersey? Where is your family to support you when you need a family? And the answer to that over and over again is that we need resources maybe more acutely here than anywhere else, maybe in the country, because we live in a resort area, a retirement area that people move to late in their lives and separate from their nuclear family. And as a result, your family has to try to do this remotely. And that process can be done. There are wonderful resources that are not in any way, shape, or form so expensive that you can't afford them. You can afford them. You just have to understand them, and you have to understand where they fit into your planning and how they can help your family make sure you're safe when some kind of an emergency arises. Alzheimer's and dementia is a curse. It's a curse on the population of elders in this country. And I will tell you, what you're looking at 10 years from now, there will be 35 to 40% more people age 85 on up. And that will mean a lot more 90-year-olds, and that's going to mean 100-year-old people without any kind of a safety net that is, at this point, exists to be able to take care of them. That's why you need to take responsibility for yourself and for your care and for your family to empower them to protect you. You need resources. Who do I call? How do I find a place? How do I bring somebody into my home? I have no idea who these people are. Well, you'll have answers to those kind of questions if you call 422-0404, 422-0404. Make an appointment, come in for a consultation, bring in some information, and you can have a comprehensive plan that will just about touch all the bases and give you a sense of protection and comfort that you haven't had up until now. When people have relied upon these non-attorney services to provide this kind of documentation, they think they don't know about the horror stories on the other side. I'm not saying this to denigrate what those people do. I'm telling you that you have to use your common sense. Do you want to go have your brakes on your car replaced by somebody who's working out of their backyard? Do you want to have your health care provided to you in a foreign nation across the border? Is it your idea of a good idea to have the electrical process in your home, the gas handled by somebody who's like just started doing that kind of work, and they work out of the back of a pickup truck. They don't have a license. They haven't educated themselves. They haven't done an internship. They haven't done an apprenticeship. They just sort of were reading Popular Mechanics and they figured out they know how to do gas. So don't worry about the leaks. I talked to a guy at Home Depot. He knows. Is that your idea of taking care of your environment and yourself? Do you resist going to the doctor? You just as soon talk to somebody, I don't know, at a swap meet that supposedly knows their secret cure that only they know about that comes in a jar and it costs a couple bucks? Is that your idea? I got to tell you something. Some things in this world merit having an expert provide to you. Your medical care for openers. Your dental care for openers. Your estate planning for openers. The tragedies that occur as a result of using non-attorneys to do this kind of work are legendary. There's not an attorney in this state that does estate planning that can't tell you a horror story of a family that came in and something all went wrong. I had a guy came in, he had passed away, his brother and his sister. He had no family, no children except for his brother and his sister, and he had wanted to make sure that they were the beneficiaries of his estate. It was a rather nice estate, too. Now, he went to a non-attorney because, let's see, it was cheap. Now, here's how cheap turns into devastatingly expensive. The non-attorney made a little bit of a error in the way they wrote the trust up. Instead of everything going to his brother and sister, and in the event that they had passed away, go to the 8 nieces and nephews he had, they got it screwed up and they gave it to the 8 nieces and nephews, and the brother and sister on paper got nothing. So far, so good, because everybody could fix this if they wanted to, except for 2 of the nieces and nephews, estranged children of one for the sister and one for the brother, were married to people who were walking, talking nightmares, and as a result, they all ended up going to court. I had a client who went to a non-attorney, had to get some work done, thought it would be, why should I spend that kind of money? I can get it done cheap. They had 2 daughters. One they wanted nothing to do with. They were frightened of her. The other one was the one that they wanted to take care of business. Those people got it exactly backwards. They got it exactly backwards. Evil sister got everything. Good sister, who killed herself taking care of her mother and father, on paper got nothing. Can these things be fixed? Sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't. How much does it cost? So much more. It's tens of thousands, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 in legal fees to straighten out a mistake by a non-attorney. Is there any recourse against the non-attorney? Nothing. They don't have anything. They don't have any insurance. They don't have any responsibility. And so missing out on that issue is like going to a doctor and saying, you know what, I don't want to spend the money on a cardiologist. I think I'll just go ahead and talk to somebody who's like, I don't know, somebody who's trained in maybe a veterinarian or something like that. I mean, that's absurd. If you're not important enough to yourself, then you're right, you should go to the non-attorney. If your family doesn't matter to you, then I would understand why. What would you care? Why would you even bother? Just die. And then the state will take care of everything from that point forward. That'd work out nice. Or you pick up the phone and you call 760-422-0404. Sit down with a qualified elder law attorney and find out what your alternatives are. Find out what it is that you can do to protect your family. Find out what you can do to protect each other. Do you really want to be, if you're out here by yourself, in the hands of some, I don't know, a public guardian? Do you want to be in the hands of somebody that you've never met? Somebody that you have no idea who they are? and they have absolutely no idea who you are except for your checkbook.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center, bringing you Elder Answers. And we're talking about just the hubris of people that have not planned, have not taken care of business, and they end up having to get dragged into court. They end up with poor care. And even if you're being charged $350 a day to be laying in the bed of a nursing home, you will still be subjected to the process that says, in essence, as hard as this is to believe, and it happens every day, that we're shorthanded. We can't get around to everybody. And so as a direct result of that, what's going to happen is if you've had an accident, you're wearing diapers, hopefully, not always, but hopefully, you're just going to have to wait maybe an hour, 2 hours before anybody can do anything about that. It happens all the time. It happens all the time that nobody ever goes outside and gets any sunshine. Nobody ever gets any fresh air to breathe. They're like living in a can. You want to know why COVID swept through nursing homes and so many seniors in nursing homes disproportionately died? It was because they were trapped inside of a can. The windows are sealed, the doors are sealed. And people were coming in and out of there, bringing it and infecting that facility because nobody knew what was going to happen next until it had already happened. If you were at home, would that have happened to them? No. No, it would not. Is it possible that they could have been at home instead of there? Yes, if they had planned ahead and thought about it and prepared for it. But it's human nature to not want to address an issue that maybe entails the discomfort of facing your own mortality. I've noticed over the years, asking a man to somehow imagine sitting in a wheelchair in a diaper, it may be his fate is very, very difficult to have them go along with that. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad. You need to plan. You need to know what you're doing. That's why you pick up the phone, you call 760-422-0404, and thank your lucky stars you listened and you wrote that phone number down and you came in for a consultation so you could at least find out what the deal is. You know, it's human nature not to want to do anything about this. And I know that it's human nature, and it's been this way for a long time. There's a person by the name of Julian of Norwich that wrote this. And here it is, and I'm quoting, "I asked an elderly man once what it was like to be old and to know the majority of his life was behind him. He told me that he has been the same age his entire life. He said the voice inside his head had never aged. He has always just been the same boy, his mother's son. He had always wondered when he would grow up and be an old man. He said he watched his body age and his faculties dull, but the person he is inside never got tired, never aged, never changed. Our spirits are eternal, our souls are forever. The next time you encounter an elderly person, look at them and know they are still a child, just as you are still a child, and children will always need love, attention, and purpose. This was written by somebody by the name of Julian in Norwich in the 13th century. She was a nun. And that insight, I think, explains why it's so hard for us to sometimes confront not just our mortality, but what we are considering to be such an uphill discussion about our care. We're frightened that we're going to be stripped of every dime we have and be paupers. We're terrified that we're going to end up sick and frail. But in our minds, we are still a boy, still a girl. Well, that's why you want to come in for a consultation to see what the alternatives are. What is it that I can impact that dreadful situation in which I contract dementia or Alzheimer's? Because I'm not going to be able to take care of myself, and it is going to be brutally expensive. And is there anything I can do about that? Is there some way I can incorporate my family in the planning process? Can I have them sitting here in the room? Well, no, they live 1,000 miles away. They live 500 miles away. But they can, with this whole new advent of Zoom, they can be there in the room. And so there's more to this process now today than there's ever been. There's more of an imperative for you. You're going to live longer. You're going to live that your body will betray you. You will become frail, but you will not die. And your mind will be the mind of a boy, even though you're sitting there at 85, 90 years old. And that's normal. That's nothing to be shocked or surprised by. What is shocking and surprising is that how many people refuse to accept that idea and to deal with it. It's even more shocking and surprising when you consider that they can get a free consultation and they can come in and discuss this kind of an issue and get the expertise of elder law attorneys coast to coast, though there's few of them. But there will be in 20 years far more than there are today, because this is going to be the issue of the next 10 to 15 years. You can forget all this other nonsense and noise you're hearing out there. This is going to be the issue. What are we going to do with 80-year-olds who are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia, who are physically vibrant, who may have an additional 10, 15 years of life in them, but they have lost the ability to care for themselves because of neurological impairments? What are we going to do? Where do they go and how do they get treated? Well, there's going to be those among them who have addressed this issue beforehand, have done some planning, and have a concept of how their outcome can be dictated by themselves, not dictated to them by somebody who doesn't know them, who somebody doesn't have the time for them, somebody who doesn't particularly care about them. It's up to you. We offer you these consultations. We offer you this information. If you're a veteran and you want to find out what you have to do now to make sure you get your funding down the road, $26,000, $27,000 a year, tax-free to pay for your care, money for your spouse. If you don't want it for yourself, think about your spouse. That they can get money, $1,400 a month, tax-free to help pay for their care at home. At home. How can I keep my house? How can I keep my IRA? How can I keep money in the bank? How can I keep money beyond the parameters of the program and still have Medi-Cal pay for my care in a nursing home? And why would I want money if that was the case? Because I want to supplement my care. I want to upgrade my care. I want to get the kind of care that I need and deserve. And I don't want to go broke doing it. I don't want to turn my spouse into a pauper. And I don't want to be a burden on my family. If any of that makes sense to you, then you'll pick up the phone and call 760-422-0404 and do something about it. What is the do something? First thing to do about it is get information, educate yourself. Find out what the parameters are. Find out what you have to do if you want to be sure you're going to be safe and protected. And once you know that, then you can move forward and deal with these kinds of issues intelligently. You can be the empowered individual because you have the information available to you. It can only take place if you're educated, if you have the information. Does it make sense to you for you and your family to have a place to go if something happens, that you're a client and you're protected and maybe you have a safety valve that everybody knows? Call this number, talk to this person because they're there for you. And when you end up in that kind of a scenario, now you are facing the world not alone. You're not overwhelmed by the system. You know how the system works, and or you have somebody standing beside you that's there to protect you, that's there to inform you, that's there to explain to others what your rights are and why this family insists that this senior be treated according to the law and to the rules. That makes all the difference in the world as far as the outcome of the quality of your care is concerned. I can assure you of that. And you should never count on, perhaps, that the people who say they have the expertise do have the expertise. And that includes the providers, the business office, the executive directors, the administrative law judges, the eligibility workers. Believe me, you want to have somebody there to be able to help you. And you can. You can. You can create that safety cocoon. You can create that, take the anxiety, which is an absolute energy vampire, and turn it into a positive energy that says, okay, I put this thing to bed. I know what to do. We get calls every day from mother passed away. She was 93. Dad passed away. He was 87. And so we had talked to you. You remember who we were from Tooth? Yes, sure. You remember us, and we need to come in and talk to you. We don't know what to do. Can you tell? Yeah, sure. Come on in. We'll get you through this. Or, Dad just went to the hospital and he's into rehab, and we don't know what's going on over there, and they're not telling us anything. Okay, fine. Come on in or get on Zoom. If you're back in Houston and you're up in Seattle, we'll take care of that for you. We'll show you what you should be doing and what we can do to help you in that process. It's very, very difficult to do all this on your own. It's very difficult for you to read 1,000 pages that comprise all the federal and state regulations that protect you as a senior in the healthcare system, in the long-term care system, in the Veterans Administration system, in the Medi-Cal system. So you can have the outcome you want by picking up the phone, 760-422-0404. This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center saying thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
The preceding program was a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and not the opinions of KNews, Alpha Media, management, or employees.